All right, Canes fans, you know that I would like to hear from you. North Carolina and Miami, the ACC opener for the Canes. And, of course, Miami jetting out to a 33-10 halftime lead thanks to the turnover chain making many big plays on defense. As the Canes gave up some plays and a few drives to North Carolina. There was one North Carolina scoring drive for a touchdown. There was an earlier drive, the very first drive of the game, where UNC made plays in the running game with the running backs exploding for some big games before Miami stiffened in the red zone and North Carolina kicked the field goal to make it 3-0. But past that, turnovers on defense, and Miami, it was mentioned a number of times during the broadcast. And then finally, after the big, what looked like it could be a pick six, but of course, it was taken on the left sideline that set up the field goal that Miami forced 10 negative plays out of the first 36 snaps for North Carolina, as Miami looks to start the ACC season as expected at 1-0. So more than anything else in this one, I can tell you what I think. Would love to hear from you. So you're catching Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and you guys may be catching us for the first time. If you're stumbling across the internet, you're a Miami fan, North Carolina fan. Do we have some Heels fans out there? Does anyone from the Tar Heel Nation want to jump on the line and talk college football with us? Of course, we are the voice of college football. Please join us each and every day for our live streams and our videos as we talk college football and discuss and debate and analyze it like no one else. We've got a newsletter that you need to jump on, MarkRogersTV at Gmail. That's where you send your email for our newsletter. But let's get to the halftime analysis right here of North Carolina and Miami. And, of course, if you've got something to say, call 860-325-3687. That's 860-325-3687. Maybe we'll stay on past halftime if you guys have something to say, if you guys have questions and comments for me, because it doesn't look as though the second half is going to be too enthralling between Miami and North Carolina, as, again, this is the deal. Miami's pass blocking has been extremely good for N'Kosi Perry. He's taken advantage, hit some big plays. He's having a nice first half. Travis Homer got the running game started on one of the early drives of the game, the second drive, actually, with Miami running left. And then Travis Homer seeing that seam to the right and using his speed to outflank the North Carolina all by himself, outflanked the North Carolina secondary with that run all the way down to the 4-yard line. DJ Dallas on a play in which Miami's offensive line pretty much shoved the Heels back into the end zone, runs off left tackle, and they score to make it 7-3. And it's been this Miami defensive front seven that's been dominating up front, although they've given up some run plays. And Chaz Surratt in particular on the North Carolina scoring drive, he was most of the offense. He hit on a couple passes, but most notably near the end of the drive, an 11-yard run, a 17-yard run to move the ball downfield for the touchdown for North Carolina. So we've got 33-10 right now. Again, the number is 860-325-3687 for you guys to call and talk some college football. So, of course, the game on right now is Miami, North Carolina, with the Canes up 33-10, but we can talk college football across the board. Stanford, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State are two of the highlighted games, of course, this weekend. In the live chat, we've got always have trouble and need the either the specs or the MacBook Air. Just it's about 12 years old. It's not doing its work here, allowing me to open up this live chat and see what you guys are talking about. All right, King Kane is talking about N'Kosi balling as expected. Yeah, he's looked good. He's looked in control of the offense, and he has played the part. The chain made the early appearance. It's made it 3 times. Shaq Quarterman coming off the defensive end spot. It was talked about in the broadcast of Manny Diaz possibly throwing a little wrinkle in each week for every particular team. And maybe for North Carolina, it's been Shaq Quarterman off left end and finding a gap and splitting the offensive line for the big hit on Nathan Elliott for the sack and the strip and the scoop and the score from Jonathan Garvin. And that got Miami rolling there. Defense playing lights out, yes, for the most part. Maybe we'll check out the stats here in just a second. King Nkosi is in the rock. King Nkosi, is that a thing? King Nkosi, you guys are going to have to let me know. All right, anything here? 860-325-3687. Otherwise, I'm looking through the chat. I gave you my analysis. It's pretty cut and dry. Front seven domination from Miami. The secondary play has been on point. Certainly took advantage of a couple missed fires. The one at the end of the first half, in which there was not communication between the quarterback and the wide receiver that allowed Joe Jackson to take it down the sideline. And Nkosi Perry looking the part, in control of the offense. And the offensive line playing very well, especially in pass protection. They've looked good. Nkosi's been clean back there. Jackson is a special player and will be on the next stage as a second-round pick, according to, again, can't blow up the page here. We've got AC Outlaw talking about Joe Jackson. Mark, okay, what about bring on Willie T? Different energy with Nkosi Perry. Everybody's just feeling it different. Reminds me of a Thursday night game just about a week ago. That one in Cleveland on the next level. And Tyrod Taylor delivering adequate quarterback play typically, but not on that night against the Jets, down 14-0, and Baker Mayfield steps on the field. And that's what people talked about after the game. Just a different feel, a different vibe. Cam Underwood, State of the U, joined us last week leading into this game. And he talked about the same thing. He talked about it just is a different feel of a Miami offense. The ball comes out of the hand nice and clean and just is effortless in its delivery to the wide receivers. The offense seems to have a spark. Now, they certainly wanted to move with pace coming out of the gate. So again, that's my take, and I think it's all pretty apparent. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. 860-325-3687. That's 860-325-3687. Here we've got a call. Questions, comments, all welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line? Hey, who do we have on the line?
It's George in Oregon.
George, you're ready to talk Miami, I'm sure.
Just for a minute, maybe someone from Miami wants to call, but it's a good game.
It's a good game if you like the Canes. Yeah, it's a good game.
I'm a Gator. I don't hate anybody. Why would you hate somebody for real? I don't want them to beat us. That's all. I don't care what they do the rest of the year.
Well, we talk about this from time to time, you and I, George. We talk about the camaraderie of college football, and sure, in clean fun, some trash talking, and you really love your team, and you, let's say, quote in quotes, very specific quotes, hate the other team. That means you love to rib them, you love to see them lose, but when it all comes down to it, we're all people, and we're just rooting for guys running around a football field.
When I tune into the Georgia football shows, those are so polite. Those people, I couldn't do it if I had to. They're all being kind and generous and stuff. They do say the word hate sometimes, but you can tell it's good-natured ribbing.
Yeah. So I think we should take our cues from the players. We notice, what do? They're out there hitting each other like all get out, hitting the snot out of each other. But when the game's over, what are they doing? They're shaking hands, they're talking. You see groups of players standing there talking and having a good time.
Right.
So you can achieve both.
Pretty good, man. I just think they're getting their mojo back a little bit. Starting to look like Miami. It's frustrating, man. I'd be scared if I'm a Miami fan after going 10-0 last year and then collapsing. But maybe Perry is the difference maker.
Well, we'll get to that in about 6 or 7 weeks. But for right now, they are playing what was expected to be the worst team in the ACC to start the season. Now, North Carolina did beat Pitt last week, and they scored 38 points. So that was a breath of fresh air for their fans. But this is most likely the worst team in the division. So we need to understand that as well.
I was going to ask you about that. How bad are they? Okay. Well, still, it's a good practice game. Good tune-up.
Well, if you believe in transitive property, George, North Carolina lost to East Carolina by 19 points. They lost by 22 points, 41-19. They lost to East Carolina, who's pretty awful. East Carolina lost to North Carolina A&T.
My God. And that coach is getting like $1 million a year or more?
Oh, a lot more than that. Yeah, and they went 3-9 last year. They went 1-7 in the ACC, and they're looking to pretty much ring up the same record this year.
Well, can we have a moment of silence for North Carolina? My gosh. And they just got wiped out by a hurricane, poor people.
Yeah, the poor people are waiting for basketball season.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
I'm paying honor and tribute with my baby blue, Carolina blue shirt on tonight.
Nice. Well, it didn't work out. It didn't help. But I saw you for a minute. I clicked off when I called you.
All right, George.
I can actually figure out how to watch and call, and I can read the comments while I'm talking if I want to.
Yeah, you got to coordinate a lot there, just like I do here, because I'm holding the phone, and when we get a little bit more sophisticated, I won't need to. But for right now, I'm holding the phone. Therefore, I can't join into the chat and type and hold the phone at the same time.
Right. And by the way, I clicked on Alonzo 1219's channel to say congratulations at halftime, and then said I got to go, But he had 150 people on the live stream and 0 likes. And I was hearing him tell the people, like, what the F, hit the like button. And I was the first person that liked it. I think it might be YouTube screwing around or something. It's impossible.
You would think.
No one will hit like.
Especially,
quite frankly, I don't even know if it matters anymore. I'm going to have to look into that, because if it doesn't matter.
Yeah, then who cares? Exactly. I don't need to see likes to feel good about myself, but it helps. If it helps, if it still helps, that's what everyone says. I've looked it up in a number of sources. It apparently helps, but you're right. Now, I could almost understand me if I had X number of people on the line watching whatever college football video, since I'm jumping from team to team and I'm talking about all sorts of teams, and my audience is all over the place, different fan bases, that there would be less likes for me versus a Miami guy talking to Miami people leading 33-10 at halftime. You would think that there would be all sorts of likes going on.
Right.
Yes, Zoe's a good guy.
I don't understand. That's why I say, there's a lot of stuff on the internet about Google and YouTube and the shit they pull off. Man, I don't want to go there.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to figure it all out as well. I'm trying to create content,
what can you do anyway? They're the medium. Where are you going to go? Some bid me or something where no one watches?
Well, let's also understand that anytime that you have a free service, it's just that. So anytime I'm tempted to be mad at YouTube or Google, I realize, what am I paying for this?
Hey, I just want to mention the guy for Georgia has a vodka company and a restaurant support them. Everyone's getting sponsorship, so you consider that sometime, right?
Yeah, I haven't pursued that. I've had a couple people contact me. I had a particular gambling site contact me the other day, and somebody else contacted me. So we'll see. I haven't really given it any effort myself. I haven't given it any effort to go out there and get a sponsor, but I need to.
Maybe that big head, the thing that makes the big heads, like
the
helmets and stuff.
The fat head.
They could put one of your heads back there and show people. Like,
that would be scary.
People order the MarkRogers fat head. Or whatever.
What are you doing in your spare time? What are you doing in your spare time, George?
Just the regular stuff of life. I don't have to go to work every day, and I wonder, how do people do this? How do they do everything they have to do and go to work? It's just hard to comprehend.
I'm waving at you right now, George. I am waving at you.
I've done it all my life. I was a single parent for like 15 years, and I worked 2-3 jobs. I did it. I was hyper and happy. But now I look back, and I was like, how did I do that? That's impossible.
Mark TR is taking up your cause, and he is asking for likes on the live chat. So we appreciate that.
I mean, I wish everyone would just agree to hit like one time so we can see, is it actually going to tally, that many likes, I don't know.
So apparently the comments and the likes and the suggestions and the, what am I looking for? The views get you into the suggested videos. And then obviously that drives more views and more subscribers and all of that. So we're going to try to figure this out. Dennis, we appreciate you hitting like. Dennis gives me a hard time because I'm a Browns fan, and but he still hits like for me, and he mentions it right here.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis can hear me. Go Miami. Good job, Miami. Even though it's North Carolina.
I've got a pretty strong Miami following, and I'm talking to George, the Gators fan, during halftime. Nobody else is calling me. It only took me...
I would hang up instantly if someone calls. I don't mind at all. But,
absolutely, I know that. It only took me 60 seconds to analyze the first half, and then I was begging for Miami fans to jump on the line and call me.
I only called because I saw you put your number up, and I thought if no one else is going to call, I'll call. But, yeah, Miami. Oh, yeah. I want Miami to win every single game up until they open the game next year and then lose to us, and then I don't care what they do the rest of the year. That's what I want. Go Miami.
Maybe you could see them in the playoffs.
Or the playoffs. There you go. Never thought of that.
Wouldn't that be something?
Not recently. I didn't think of it anyway. I'll know more after tomorrow or Saturday.
All right, George.
All these games seem so hard and intimidating. I don't care who you are and who you're playing. There's some gimmies like tonight, but there's anybody with a half decent schedule. Anybody not named Alabama pretty much has a hard schedule. I don't know how they pulled that one off. All right.
Well, the SEC loves Alabama.
Back to football, I guess. I hope it's not too bad of a blowout and it gets boring.
Well, it's getting there awfully quick.
I know.
Okay, you can also turn to the NFL.
All over. Stop dropping the football in North Carolina.
You can choose to watch the NFL tonight, George.
I can't take it at all.
Okay.
I try. I can't do it.
All right, I'm going to see if anybody's got anything for me on the chat here.
All
right, George. Appreciate it. Always.
Same here.
George from Oregon, who roots for the Gators. Second half kickoff in the air. Miami leads North Carolina 33-10. All right, I'm going to look at the live chat here and see what you guys have, if there's anything interesting. AC Outlaw, Florida State and Florida are terrified of us becoming great again because we will, I think, rule college football years and years. Mark is asking about Kentucky. If he's asking me, what about Kentucky? They've got South Carolina this week. And what sets up really well for Kentucky has been what helped them last week is that they've got a number of key SEC home games. Of course, that also means that they play some of the lesser teams in the SEC on the road, which opens them up for a possible upset. But Kentucky at 2-0 for the first time since 1977 in the SEC, 4-0 overall. And they've looked impressive in every game. They've blown out the two teams that they were supposed to, and they have pulled off the upsets on the road against Florida, of course, by 11 points, and against Mississippi State this past week. So, Terry Wilson, the quarterback there at Kentucky, I'll be interested to see him play. I've really not locked into a Kentucky game to really see him play and what he has, but it's like old-style college football watching Kentucky play and just looking at the numbers because they only let him throw the ball about 12 or 15 times a game, and that's worked thus far. And even though teams know to load up the box and come after Benny Snell, he has had two outstanding games against what were supposed to be excellent defenses in Mississippi State with one of the top 5 defensive lines in the country with Sweat and Simmons and Green, and also against Florida in Gainesville. So the Kentucky story is one of the more intriguing ones in college football. If they were in another division other than the one in the SEC Eastern Division with Georgia, then it would be the more interesting story, as Miami almost came up with another pick, but it's a North Carolina completion down the left sideline as they try to get back in the ball game. if Kentucky was in the ACC Coastal Division, take out Kentucky from the SEC East right now, put them in the ACC Coastal with this number of teams, and I know Miami fans are going to argue with me that they would not be relevant, that they couldn't challenge Miami. I'm not saying that they would win the division, but it would be a whole lot more interesting with Kentucky in that division, or Kentucky in the Pac-12 South. And, of course, I'm speaking nonsense since nobody's calling. 860-325-3687. I'm going to stay on the line for another minute if nobody else calls, and we may rejoin you for postgame. At this rate, it's going to be postgame of the Rams-Vikings because it might as well be 55-17 at that point, and we pretty much ran through the Miami-North Carolina analysis. Although, of course, on Saturday, Ohio State, Penn State, much to talk about there. We had Steve Hellwagon from Bucknuts on before the Miami-North Carolina game to talk Ohio State and Penn State as the whiteout will be in full force. One of the great settings in college football awaiting the Buckeyes. Notre Dame and Stanford, many of you have noted this week and made the comment here on the channel that Notre Dame has a pretty clear path to the college football playoff if they get by the Cardinal this week in South Bend. Michigan seemed to be the one big hurdle. They got past that. And, of course, USC later in the season, and the Trojans not playing well right now. And Notre Dame's typically just brutal schedule has lightened up a bit with the likes of Virginia Tech and Florida State not being nearly as good as we thought they would be. Mark TR, give Mark some likes. Yeah, give me some likes. If anybody knows that about YouTube, please send me your knowledge and information on YouTube, Google, online, search engines in particular, and how they work. I could use all the analytics that I could possibly gather in trying to build this out. I have focused so much on the content and delivering college football content to you that I haven't really built this out, as George mentions, from the standpoint of actually getting sponsorships and sales. We haven't done that yet. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, 2KJ.
2KJ, who called for the first time just a few nights ago. That might have been last night, in fact. How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing just fine. Are you watching any college football tonight?
Just about to turn on the Miami game.
Oh, you're just going to turn it on now?
Oh, is it a blowout?
Okay, what we'll not do, did you DVR the game? Let me ask you that.
No, I just have YouTube TV.
Okay,
I'm just going to go on and check it real quick.
All right, they just started the second half, and we'll let you be surprised or not surprised by the current score.
All right.
What's on your mind?
What?
What's on your mind?
I wanted to ask, how good do you think Joe Burrow is? If he's a real threat to Alabama's defense or Georgia's defense, how good do you think he can be?
Joe Burrow is a little bit more talented than Danny Etling, so I think there's some comparison there. Danny Etling was a fairly mobile quarterback that transferred, obviously, you're familiar with him, from Purdue to LSU. And obviously, he wasn't considered to be a dynamic quarterback, but he was good enough to be drafted. Joe Burrow is a mobile quarterback who has very few reps right now. And when I say mobile, I'm not talking Michael Vick mobile, talking about he can threaten a defense and you've got to account for him in a passing lane and make sure that he doesn't take off on you. But he delivers the ball on time. He's got a much better than average arm. He doesn't have a great arm. I don't know if you've seen him play yet. I watched him play quite a bit of spring football at Ohio State, and then finally got to see him play with the live bullets firing against Miami and against Auburn. And he did what he needed to do in those games, but he always was in a position in which he was not down by more than one score. It was always a manageable game. It would be interesting to see, in addition to just flat out playing the Alabama defense, having to play the Alabama and really having to stand back there and rip it to see if he could pull it off. But from what we've seen thus far against two good defenses, what would you consider? I would say Miami and Auburn are both in the top 10 to 15 in the nation in defense, that he played pretty well. Played pretty well, especially the Auburn defensive front. He got beat up a little bit in that game, and that was probably the most impressive part of his game against Auburn was, number one, that when things weren't going well for him and he got physically knocked around in the first half of that game into the third quarter, that he kept getting up and played well, delivered the ball. Shoot, on his third throw, I think it was, against Miami, drive number one, maybe drive number two, he delivered a throw downfield that was a beauty on a crossing route, and he got hammered. And that defender was coming right at him. It wasn't from the backside, and so he knew it was coming. So that's impressive to see that out of a young quarterback who's willing to stand in and deliver, and when he can't step into the throw, he still delivered the ball downfield. But, of course, going to Jordan Hare and delivering a field goal winning drive in the final minutes, that's another thing now that we've seen Joe Burrow be able to accomplish. And so he's going to have another 4 or 5 games under his belt before he has to see Alabama, something like that, maybe more. And he's going to have to make those progressions and learn even more. Right now it's about consistency and efficiency. He's not completing passes, and I think there's more to it than missing his throws. He does throw the ball away more than most quarterbacks. And in the 2 games that I watched, he suffered like any other quarterback from a few drops.
Yeah, 2 more questions.
Sure.
Sorry?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Oh, okay. 2 more questions. I know, how Kelly Bryant transferred, and he didn't practice with the team. Was it Tuesday? And then it was announced that he was transferring the next day. But obviously, I think Jalen Hurts is staying. But do you think there's any possibility of him redshirting? And then, so once, if Tua is good enough to go pro his junior year, him playing the year after that? Because I think that would be possible, wouldn't it, since he would have redshirted?
So it's possible. It's possible in regards to the rules. I cannot see Alabama, aside from injury, going back to a Jalen Hurts style offense. You're a Bama fan, right?
Yeah.
You love the Tide. You watch all the games. I've only seen bits and pieces against Louisville, and I saw bits and pieces against Ole Miss. When you actually play a competitive game, then I will watch start to finish. But I saw about half the Texas A&M game. And my goodness, I stated this out of the gate in delivering my prediction video against Texas A&M. To watch the orchestration of that offense with Tua back there, being able to deliver the ball on time in tight windows when that's necessary. But again, to put the ball where it needs to be thrown, whether he's throwing it away from a defender or whether he's throwing it to the open field or throwing it in anticipation of a window opening, doing all the things that Jalen Hurts can't do. I can't imagine. And I know Nick Saban respects Jalen Hurts, and he has done everything possible to protect his reputation and protect his good name as a football player, not as a person, as a football player during this process. I can't imagine that he's going to try to that he would want to step back in offensive play calling to be limited by what Jalen Hurts is not able to deliver. So I think we've seen the last of Jalen Hurts regardless. There are other quarterbacks out there that will be recruited and signed by Alabama, and we got one in Mac Jones or in the third quarterback, who probably should be the backup quarterback. Mac Jones, yes. And that even if
his little brother coming in as a freshman.
Absolutely. So Jalen Hurts, I believe, has played his last snaps as an Alabama starting quarterback, unless again there's an injury.
Yeah. And so one last question. You know how La Tech, lost to Old Dominion. That's one of the best upsets, by a team like Old Dominion ever.
Yes.
how does a team like Vautech bounce back after a loss like that?
Well, it's up to the coaching staff. It's up to and when I say the coaching staff, I believe it starts with the head coach, of course. He sets the tone for the entire program. But, hey, I work in a business where I talk to people on a regular basis in regards to their careers and their jobs and how they approach a job as a professional and do all those things. And there's just a slice of psychology there for me. Now, for a head football coach of a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, there's an enormous slice of psychology. So the better football coaches know how to deal with a locker room. And so the one thing that I don't think we give these kids enough credit for is they are pretty resilient. And so, yeah, that loss stung. It has to be embarrassing because they know that they're Virginia Tech and that they shouldn't lose to Old Dominion. These kids hit the field and they know the name and the brand on the other side of the field and what's supposed to happen. And that might be one of the reasons why they lost, is because they were supposed to just jog out there and win the game. But it stings, and then they have to hear it on social media, and they have to see all the highlight shows about how this is one of the biggest upsets in history and how embarrassing and how does this happen. And so, yeah, you in life, regardless of the adversity, can choose one of two directions. Do we go into a shell because of that? Do we shy away from the challenge of coming back, or do we take that on and move forward? They have their entire ACC season to play for. They've only played one game. They won it at Florida State. They have a lot to play for. So their head coach, Justin Fuente, has to be hammering that home to them that they have their entire season, regardless of that embarrassment. And I'm sure he's not calling it that, but they feel it and they know that as an embarrassment. But he's selling them on the ACC championship game. Just look around at the chaos in the Coastal Division. Miami doesn't look like they're invincible. Look at these other teams beating other teams. Everybody's beating everyone. We're 1-0 right now in the ACC. This is winnable. We can win the Coastal. Let's go out and do it. That's the sales pitch. And I'm sure Justin Fuente is doing it much better than I just did.
Yeah. One last quick question. I'm a junior right now. And I've always, wanted to do sports journalism or broadcasting. And what do you think of the two majors or minors, I don't know exactly, in college, what are the best? Which one do you think is better, sports broadcasting or sports journalism?
I was a broadcast journalism major. That was a long, long time ago. What's great about today's world, 2KJ, is that it doesn't necessarily matter. Certainly, you want to make an informed decision on what your major is going to be. You want to choose something that's going to be what you're aspiring to be for all the obvious reasons. But don't feel as though you're going to put yourself in a bad position or start yourself down the wrong path if you choose slightly the wrong major. People are in the professional fields with all sorts of majors doing other things. It's all about experience and experience in doing different things and meeting different people. So what you want to do is meet as many people as possible, network with those people, build relationships with those people. People generally hire people they like and have worked with and experienced in the past. So you getting out there and meeting as many people as possible and gaining as much experience. And you want to be a good writer. Being a good writer is very important. Writing is something that I love to do, that I'm a decent writer. I would love to do more, and I don't do anything outside of work now in terms of writing, but I enjoy writing. So you want to be a sound writer because then you can take that skill and you can take that anywhere. I hope that answered some of your question.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all from me. Thanks.
And again, one of the great things about the day and age that you live in is you can do this now. You don't need approval from someone. You don't need to be hired by someone. I did. And I didn't get on the air until I was interning at an ABC station. And they saw enough out of me to put me on the air as a reporter. But you have the opportunity just to open up your laptop or throw open your phone, and you can do whatever you want. And you can be polished by the time you hit college. It's an amazing opportunity that, of course, I don't expect you to fully grasp because this is how you've grown up. But you have the opportunity to be a broadcaster right now. Yeah. All right, sir?
All right, well, yeah, doing well.
All right, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
You too. Have a great night.
You too. It's our guy, 2KJ, Alabama fan, talking about Tua versus Jalen. Obviously, that's no competition, but can Jalen Hurts stick around the program and possibly regain his starting job? And asking me about a career in broadcasting or journalism. So that's interesting. North Carolina's driving. They got an interception off a deflection. I didn't necessarily see whether that was Nikosi's fault or not, but they're inside the 10-yard line. So 9 minutes left in the third quarter. Canes lead the Heels 33-10. North Carolina with a golden opportunity to get back in the ball game. They've been a little bit run heavy, and that's a good thing for them during this game. They've been effective from the quarterback spot running the ball, and here in the second half, going back to what they were doing successfully the first drive of the game when they scored a field goal, and that's run the ball. Their running backs, they've got 3 good ones, and here they're going with a little rollout pass, and that was not a smart decision, trying to weave that ball in front of Michael Pinckney there. That was almost picked off. That should have been thrown away, or he should have taken off and run with it. Regardless, it's 3rd and goal, and let's check out this play to get North Carolina within 2 scores roughly with Nathan Elliott at quarterback. And we'll check out this play, and then we'll come back after the game. We've got to get you our predictions, of course. That's a must. We will do that, and I've got to knock out a Stanford Notre Dame preview for SG1 Sports. I've got a Penn State, Ohio State preview and prediction posted to SG1 Sports as well. Also, we talked to Steve Hellwagon earlier tonight, and for you Ohio State and Penn State fans, we will clip that off and we will provide that to you as well as a separate video. 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Heels driving. We don't know what the flag was there, but I believe that's pushed them back. 3rd and goal, not a good place to be. You don't want to play too conservatively because if you kick a field goal, you're still down 20 points, and sure, there's enough game time left to get back in it, but this is a tough spot. So, yeah, this isn't going to do anything. No, they've been doing this all night. How many times have they run a play like this where they think they can throw the ball and outlet it to a back on a delayed type play, and they're giving Miami way too much time? So they did that. They thought that they were going to get the misdirection looking, well, he didn't look left as they've done in the past, but he went with a straight screen, and yeah, that was ugly. That, and we will see the state of North Carolina field goal kicking here in a second, but that may have moved them out to a very difficult field goal, although the graphic was wrong. It said 3rd and goal. The penalty kept it at 2nd and goal. Now it's 3rd and goal at the 32. And that's ill-advised too. That's why I said you got to be careful throwing the ball downfield on a 3rd and long and long and long, 3rd and 32 basically. And so now we'll get to see the North Carolina field goal unit, which is already converted once. Miami 33, North Carolina 10, 7.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Heels try to get back in the ball game to build on their 1-0 start in the ACC. We will see you guys later right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Please subscribe, like, and comment. And also, of course, subscribe to our weekly newsletter, The Voice of College Football. We will see you guys. It's up, and it's good. No, it's no good. And it's 33-10 Miami. We'll see you soon.